Have you ever felt like life had lost its meaning? Like every day was just another battle you weren't sure you could win? What if I told you that someone once found purpose inside the darkest nightmare humanity ever created? A man who lost everything, yet discovered a truth so powerful, it still heals millions of hearts today. His name was Viktor Frankl. Before the world knew his book, Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor was just a man, full of dreams, full of love, and full of faith in humanity. But when war came, those dreams were shattered. And yet, inside that darkness, he found something eternal. This is the story of how one man turned unimaginable suffering into the deepest discovery about life itself, and how you can too. Chapter 1. Before the Darkness. Viktor Frankl was born in Vienna, a psychiatrist with a brilliant mind and a compassionate heart. He believed that the greatest drive in life wasn't pleasure or power, it was meaning. He spent his days helping patients find purpose, even in pain. But in 1942, his world collapsed. Nazi Germany invaded Austria. He, his wife, and his parents were forced into the concentration camps. Within months, they were all gone. Frankl stood alone, surrounded by death, stripped of his identity, his dignity, his future. He once said, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." And now, he had to live those words. Chapter 2. When Suffering Becomes the Teacher. Inside the camp, Frankl watched how suffering transformed people. Men who once stood tall became hollow and hopeless. Others, weak and broken, somehow kept fighting. He began to ask himself, why do some survive when others surrender to despair? The answer came to him slowly. Those who had a reason to live, a why, could endure almost any how. One man dreamed of seeing his family again. Another believed he had work left unfinished. And those who had nothing left to hope for, their light simply went out. Frankl realized that hope wasn't a luxury. It was survival itself. Chapter 3. The Search for Meaning. Each day in the camp was a living nightmare. Starvation, cruelty, and endless labor. But amid that horror, Viktor made a choice. He decided that even though everything was taken from him, his clothes, his food, his freedom, there was still one thing the Nazis could never take: his ability to choose his response. He discovered that between every event and our reaction lies a space. And in that space lies our greatest power, the power to decide who we become. That realization changed everything. Instead of drowning in despair, he began to serve others. He comforted prisoners, shared hope, and reminded them that they still had a reason to live. He became a light for those who had forgotten theirs. Chapter 4. The Liberation. When liberation finally came, Viktor Frankl was barely recognizable. He weighed less than 90 pounds. His body was frail, but his spirit was unbreakable. He had nothing, no family, no possessions, no home. But he carried one truth the world desperately needed to hear: that even in the face of unimaginable pain, life still holds meaning. He returned to Vienna, and within weeks he began to write. He poured every memory, every insight, every scar into one book. That book became Man's Search for Meaning. It would go on to touch more than 100 million lives, including perhaps yours today. Chapter 5. What he discovered. Viktor Frankl discovered that we don't get to choose what happens to us, but we always get to choose why we live through it. He said, those who have a why to live can bear almost any how. He realized that suffering in itself is not the enemy. Meaningless suffering is, and when we give our pain a purpose, it becomes fuel for growth. Our wounds can become the birthplace of our strength. Our heartbreaks can become the foundation of our compassion. Our failures can become the teachers of our wisdom. The question isn't why me, it's what now. Chapter 6. The Universal Lesson. We live in a time where comfort is everywhere, yet so many people feel lost. We've built lives of convenience, but lost connection to meaning. Frankl's story reminds us that purpose doesn't grow in comfort, it grows in struggle. In the moments when we question everything, when we endure what we thought we couldn't, Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every failure, they're not punishments, they're invitations. Invitations to rise, to rebuild, to rediscover who we are. Chapter 7. What you can learn from Viktor Frankl. If Viktor Frankl could find purpose inside a concentration camp, then you can find meaning in whatever pain you're facing right now. You can turn heartbreak into empathy. You can turn failure into wisdom. You can turn pain into purpose. Because meaning isn't something life gives you. Meaning is something you create. It's the story you tell about your past. It's the reason you give to your struggle. It's the hope you build when everything else falls apart. And that's the lesson Viktor left for all of us. You are stronger than your suffering. You are greater than your pain. And you can transform what broke you into what builds you. Chapter 8. The Gift of the Struggle. Frankl once said, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." Maybe that's the point of pain, not to destroy us, but to awaken something deeper within us. The struggle becomes the forge where our character is made, where our compassion is born, where our soul learns what strength truly means. And maybe the meaning of life is simply to give life meaning. Because when you choose to see purpose in pain, the suffering doesn't disappear, but it transforms. It becomes sacred. It becomes the spark that lights your way forward. Viktor Frankl didn't just survive, he redefined what it means to live. He showed us that no matter how dark life becomes, we still have one final freedom, the freedom to choose how we see the world. So the next time you feel lost, remember him. Remember that even in darkness, you can create light. That meaning is never given, it's chosen. And that the story of your pain can become the story of your purpose. Because in the end, it's not what happens to us that defines us. It's what we make of it. If this story moved you, if it helped you see your own struggle in a new light, take a moment to subscribe. Because every week, we share stories like this of growth, purpose, and the power of the human spirit. Join our community and let's keep growing together. Remember, the meaning of life is to give life meaning, and sometimes that meaning begins with a single story.